Welcome to Fantasy Football Today, Dynasty. I am your host, Heath Cummings, joined today by John Bosch. And if you've listened to this program for a few years, you know what it usually means when Mr. Bosch comes on the program. We are talking about everything about setting up a new Dynasty league or just being a better commissioner in your current Dynasty league. John, I don't know if we did this last year. We've done it multiple times. It's good to have you back on the show. Tell everybody what you've been up to and what's going on with Fantasy Cares.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much taken over my I actually commission a little bit less than I used to now, and it's because I now do Fantasy Cares stuff more and more.
Right.
It's grown dramatically. It's been great to see. For those that don't know, Fantasy Cares kind of operates the Scott Fishbowl. Scott does not do it by himself anymore, thank God. He used to, and he has let several of us jump in and begin to help run it and help it. So I focus mostly on the live events. So if Heath's gone to several live events, he's drafted at them. They're fun, aren't they?
They are lots and lots of fun. It was much less stressful for me the year that you were there, because then you got somebody there that knows exactly what's going on. But no, fantastic. I've said it a million times on this show, but find a way to get involved with Fantasy Cares. I think we have our month of the year where we raise funds for St. Jude. And I always say, like, that the St. Jude fundraising, the Fantasy Cares fundraising is the best part of my job, the best thing I get to do. And I'm very, very appreciative of all the FFT listeners who have helped support both organizations. So we will do that again in 2026, and hopefully we will do it better than we ever have before on both fronts. You may be wondering, why does Heath have John Bosch come on to talk about setting up new leagues and being a commissioner? And it's because I've been in dozens of Dynasty leagues with dozens of different commissioners, and John Bosch has been the best commissioner I've ever been in a league with. Oh. So this is the guy. We won't let him get too crazy today, because if you don't know anything about John, you know that if you sign up for one of his leagues, generally speaking, at least in my experience, be ready for a wild ride. We're gonna do some things a little bit differently. We'll talk a little bit about some of that stuff. We'll also talk about some of the basics for you guys who are just maybe thinking about setting up your first Dynasty league. We generally start with 3 questions for our guest. I do want to tell you people in the chat, if you are a commissioner or you are thinking about setting up a new Dynasty league and you have questions specifically about that process, or if you even have a Fantasy Cops that's quick enough to fit into the chat, I'll try to get to, at the end of the show, a couple of chat questions if you guys have any. First question, let's just start off with the bad. What's the biggest mistake that you see Dynasty commissioners make?
Lack of vetting. I mean, what makes or breaks a league is the managers, the people involved in it. You can have a really cool league, but if it's got some folks in it that make it not fun, it's not going to last. You can have, kind of a plainer vanilla league, whatever you want to call it. But if it's a group that everybody likes, it's going to be the league that matters to people. So to me, the biggest mistake is when you are selecting who is going to be in your league, not putting in the right time, like just putting out a public, hey, everybody want to join my league, and just like letting people click a button and join.
Yeah,
that's very dangerous. So I have not seen a lot of success in leagues that form without the managers being, hand selected by the commissioner. So to me, that's the biggest problem.
To that point, my longest running league is with 13 of my high school friends, and I hate about half of the rules. I've been the commissioner for a while, and some of these I just can't get changed because the league doesn't agree with what I want to do. But it's still my favorite league because it's guys that I want to be in a league with. So I think that's an excellent point. Make sure that the guys you're letting into the league, you would like to be in a league with. You've tried a lot of scoring and lineup settings over the years. We're going to try to help people maybe not make some of the mistakes that we've made. Are there any of those scoring or lineup or rules decisions that you've made when starting a new league, trying something different, that by the time you got through year one, you were like, nope, not doing that ever again?
So not really, because I mean, I'll try anything, and I'm very open that my leagues, they're a lot of times kind of experimental, to the point where we'll change them real fast if we need to. I mean, I've had lots of leagues where there are gaps that are exploited that get closed quickly. Sometimes in leagues I don't commish, I'm the one that exploits the gaps.
Yes.
It's just how it goes. You look for edges. So not really anything like that's been super terrible. The thing that I really wanted to make work in a league was rivals.
Yeah.
We had rivals in a capitalist pigs league that Scott ran, Scott Fish, and it was fun. I tried to institute it in one of mine. I'll tell you what, we got rid of it after like 2 years.
Yeah.
Like there was a progressive pot for it, and like nobody paid attention. It just didn't grab people in the same way because we didn't have the same kind of setup where the reward wasn't the same as what it was in the pigs leagues and stuff for beating your rival. So if you can make it work, obviously try it because it's fun. In a league like
Right.
what you just were describing, where it's a bunch of people that you really want to beat everybody, it might work a little better there. It didn't work out in my league, so we just kind of got rid of it. I'm a big fan of stuff that if I try to put something in to be extra fun, and then all it ends up being is extra work for me,
Right.
cut that real fast. Like,
Right.
I'll do the work if it's worth the fun. If it's not worth the fun, just get rid
And
of stuff.
I would love to hear from the chat if you guys have some wonky rules or wonky lineup settings or wonky whatever. I'd love to hear about those in the chat. And maybe if we don't have very many questions, maybe John and I will evaluate a couple of those at the end
Yeah,
of the
happy to.
show as well. One thing I hear from people is, I'm going into this startup and I'm just going to try to win it now because I don't know if this league will be around in 3 years. I've not actually had that experience. Like, because of my position, I joined too many leagues always. And every year I go in and say, I'm going to cut leagues, and I cut a couple, and then I end up adding more than I cut. And so that's a constant battle for me. But I haven't really had a problem with leagues that just dissolve. Apparently, though, I'm unique in that because a lot of people are concerned about it.
It's
How
a good
would you
concern to have.
how would you say, what would you say is the best way to foster a sustainable league, one that doesn't just disappear?
So I actually have had some leagues collapse this year. Believe it or
Okay.
not, it's kind of really the first time that I've ever dealt with it. Um, People just, kind of some of the leagues you can kind of tell they had run their
Right.
course. They were really, really fun a few years ago. They were still fine, but people weren't having as much fun, and people cut them. They cut down, and they got to the point where I had one league where we lost like a third of the managers, and it was a 36 team league. So like,
Right.
to replace 12 teams, I was just like, you know what? I think this league's run its course. It was fun. It was fun while it lasted. So how do you make it always last? I don't know. No, the biggest way is basically getting the group. It goes back to question one, having that group, that community feeling in a league, and being open to a league, growing, evolving. I would be at risk in that league that you're in where you hate half the rules.
Right.
I left my original home league because it was like that. Even though I liked a lot of the people in it, it was just a boring league to me at that point, and I stopped paying attention to it, and I eventually left it. So I think, a group that you like and a willingness to keep the league fresh. I'm a big like Survivor fan and stuff like that.
Right.
That game that I love to watch, it's a different game than it was 20 years ago. So, I mean, things change, things evolve. I think a commissioner has to be open to that. Like, you have to be open to allowing for rule changes, even if you think, well, that's going to, that's not what the league was started for. Who cares? If it's going to keep everybody having fun and keep them in the league, do what's best for the league.
That league I was talking about, it started off just as a redraft league. And then about halfway through, so 10 years ago, we decided, let's start adding some keepers and maybe eventually transition to more of a dynasty league. And so we did 1 keeper and we did 2 keepers and we got up to 4 keepers. And then half the league revolted and didn't like it. And so we just went back to a redraft league. Oh. So I think that one of the things we're going to talk about later in the show is it's a little bit more complicated when you're talking about rule changes in a dynasty league, because people have built rosters based on the league's foundational aspect. So we'll talk about which leagues are maybe okay to or what rules are okay to mess with and what rules are not okay to mess with. But we'll do that and a lot more after this break. So we're going to save some of the commish questions for the end of the show, but we did have a question that I absolutely have no idea what it's talking about, but you do. So Adam asked you, John, if you have time, who's your pick for Survivor? I guess is that season 50? Can't be season 50. What's that?
Season 50. They do 2 a year now, though, so keep that in mind.
Yeah, okay.
But it's Survivor 50. Like, it is huge. They brought back so many former contestants and everything. I mean, yes, I am very excited for this. I am not going to tell my pick because I am in a Survivor. I'm in a Survivor league.
That's fantastic.
By the way, I have rankings. They're, I don't want to give away my pick. Honestly, there's so many of them. I don't have rankings fully out yet. Like, I'll taken care of and everything, but I like so many of the people that are coming back. It's
CBS fantasy baseball writer Scott White, also a big Survivor fan. So that's awesome. We're going to ask you some questions that you will answer. This is not a question. It's an opportunity for you to give your elevator pitch. One of the things I've heard you talk about before is the league constitution. And I think in redraft, some people roll their eyes and say it's not that serious. In Dynasty, it certainly is. Give people your pitch for having a league constitution when you set up a new league.
So I'll say it is important in all leagues, even in redraft. Yes. The redraft one, it's like a paragraph. That's all it takes. Dynasty one, it's going to be longer. You've seen my rule manifestos. Why would you do it? Because I don't ever want to be in the position where I have to decide something as a commissioner. The last line of every single one of my bylaw sets, again, stolen from Scott Fish, it does say, if there's anything not addressed in the rules, it will be, decided upon by the commissioner. That's in there because it's not a democratic process in these leagues. If something comes up, I'm not going to waste the time to try and poll everybody. Then you get half the people going one way, half the people going the other way, and it's a big fight anyways. Like, there's a lot of things I will ask, like, we'll have a discussion if something comes up, but ultimately it's going to come down to me deciding. If I didn't already put something in the rules, that's my mistake. So I'm going to be the one that has to fix it. But the better you have written your rules before your league, the better, the smoother things go. It just makes everything a lot easier. When you can screenshot and passively aggressively answer a question or a dispute with the rules, I mean, not only is that fun to do, it just makes it so much easier. You have already written out the rules. You have answered the questions before they get asked. It prevents so many problems. Even if you think something is so obvious that it doesn't need to be written down, I promise you, in every league, there is somebody that will think in a different way than how you think, or two people think differently than each other, something like that.
Right.
So just having it in writing, things as simple as like no trade deadlines or trade deadline after. Like, a lot of people just assume there's a trade deadline. A lot of websites default to a trade deadline. So things in Dynasty, like writing it out clearly, no trade deadline, makes it so that nobody can be caught off guard later in the year and be like, wait, I didn't think you're allowed to trade in the playoffs. Well, like, it's written out. So like, it's there. Just having it in writing makes it so much easier. Then it's just the manager's responsibility. And really, and when they screw up, the blame goes on them, not on me.
And that's a good point, because you get 11 guys, let's just say it's a 12-team league. They're not all going to read the rules. Adam Azer's famous for saying, I don't want to have to read a bunch of rules before I start a new league. And so at least, as Joey said in the chat, put them all in a place where they can all be accessed with one click. That make it as easy as possible. And then you can chastise them later when they didn't read and or follow the rules. You have Like if somebody's setting up a new league and they say, man, I don't really know what to do on anything. Do you have a favorite league set up, or if not not one specific, are there any must-haves when it comes to setting your rules and your constitution?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I like super flex. Obviously, you got to be able to play more than one quarterback. I just can't get into one quarterback unless it's a 16 to 18 team league and the quarterback settings really make it like we had an auction on addicts, really make it so the good quarterbacks are good and bad quarterbacks are bad. If you're going to have kind of regular quarterback scenario setups, I want to play 2 of them. Like, why are we only playing 12 of the most important 30 position? Like, there's 30 of them in the NFL. It's the most important position in the NFL. We're not playing 12 of those. Like, come on. Let's play. So that's huge. For me, auction is a key. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but I just don't like drafting. It's just not as much. Give me an auction. So those are where I really, really set up. Anything else, I mean, it's, there's everything's good and bad. As long as you like what you're playing, play it. I encourage people to try new things, though. It is really, really fun.
Yeah, I think my favorite right now is probably half PPR, half point per first down.
Yes.
With
I
a
love
tight end
point for first down.
with super flex and a tight end bonus. I like to give people flexibility in terms of their roster. I like 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and 3 or 4 flexes. I think the more different ways you give people to create a good lineup, the better. And then the thing that I recently, I've really started, especially in Dynasty, to value best ball a little bit more, just because of the way. And when I say best ball, I don't mean necessarily like the best ball contests where you're not playing anybody and you're just doing high score. Like I've got a couple of those, and those are fine too. But I'm talking best ball lineups, everything else like a regular league. And I think the best thing about that for Dynasty as opposed to redraft is we all know in a Dynasty league, you might build a monster and you're deciding which of these top 15 wide receivers are you going to start in a given week. And as much as it's my job to tell you, if you've got 4 players ranked within 6 spots in the rankings, you have about a 25% chance of getting that right. And so I think it almost punishes the players that have the guys that have too many good teams or too many good players when they're having to set lineups. So I do like the best ball lineups.
That's why you consolidate, Heath. In that case, you consolidate to take the decision out of your hands.
Right.
That's what I do. I don't want any good players on my bench because they're always going to be the best player of the week. I will say, like, my favorite setting for roster starting lineup, that Ryan McDowell now in his recent vampire leagues that that are right now my favorite leagues to play in. Like, they're just so much fun.
For the audience, verify what you mean by vampire league.
Okay, sorry, we're going to go down a path. So a vampire league in these ones, you basically in your matchup, if you're the vampire, you steal a player from the team that you beat. Now you don't participate in the startup. You don't get anybody. So you build off of the waiver wire if you're the vampire. And then as you beat teams, you get to take their players. So you can imagine after a couple of years, because you eventually get some wins. I mean, you start plucking these good players. So that's kind of the real quick elevator pitch of a vampire league. It is very much fun. Ryan's are way more complicated than that because there's also like a sniper active portion to it, which is what he calls it, where it's not just a vampire versus somebody. It's 2 teams playing against each other, and the winner gets a player, whether they're a vampire or not. So lots of different little variations within these leagues, but they're very, very fun. But a very cool setting in them is you put 15 players on your active roster and only 12 of them start.
Right.
So it's kind of like a modified, it's kind of between a best ball. You have to make the decision of which 15 players you're putting up that week. Like they're going to be your active roster and you get 12 of them starting. It's so fun because ultimately then you're able to build, if you can build 15 really good players, that's very impressive, but you're never kind of like at that point where you're like, I have too many good players and it makes my lineups hard. If you get
Right.
more than 15 good players, like God bless you, great job. You've probably won the league. But so I really like that setting. I don't think I'm going to be starting any leagues soon, but in my head, the next time I start a league, it's going to have that setting where you activate 15 and only 12 of them start. It's so fun.
No, that's a good idea. I think you could do that not in a vampire league, just
Yeah.
in a regular league. So
Yep.
I like that a lot. Takes a little bit of the variance out of it. And I think it's important also when you're setting up a league is know the guys you're setting up a league with, because to a certain extent, there's people who do my job who are always talking about we have to get the luck out. We have to get the luck out. For a lot of people in home leagues, the luck is what's going to keep your league together. The fact that people who don't want to pay attention to fantasy football 7 days a week have a chance to beat the guy who does on Sunday is part of the reason that we have 60 million people that play this game. And if we took the luck out of all of those leagues, a lot fewer people would play fantasy football. So if you're in a hyper competitive league, yes, try to find these ways to make it where the best guy truly wins. If you're in a friends and family league and you want to start a dynasty league, that's great. I highly encourage you to do it. Maybe leave a little bit of that variance in because it is part of what keeps leagues together. We talked about your must-haves for a favorite league setup. And you kind of said that a 1 QB was kind of a no way for you. Are there any other I don't really want to do that?
Yeah. I mean, I don't do IDP. It's just,
I love
I'm
IDP,
not,
but it's,
I'm already overwhelmed with how much time I spend on fantasy football. Like I'm not adding in having to get to know new players' names. I don't know any defenders. Like I watch football.
Right.
I watch every NFL game. I don't miss anything. And I don't pay attention to that. Like I don't care who makes tackles. I don't care who intercepts the balls. I'm not really like a Bengals fan anymore, but obviously, I still live in Cincinnati. I kind of root for them. I don't root against them. I don't know. I know they have like a really good defensive lineman that people get really excited for. I have no idea who it is. Like, I don't care. So I'm just not going to spend so I won't do IDP. That's a non-starter for me. In draft. I mean, it's got to be auction.
You prefer the auction.
Yeah.
Interested. Right. And we're going to talk a lot about auctions after the second break. This divides more leagues than probably anything. How do we handle the money?
Yeah. Money is the root of a lot of pain points. So I use League Safe. I mean, it's a third-party website. The money doesn't come to me anymore. The money goes into a site. The money gets paid out from the site. I handle it. My handling of it is efficiently. So that's what I recommend to people. I don't even play in leagues anymore where I send, PayPal money to somebody. You're just kind of asking for trouble, mixing some league funds with somebody's personal funds. You don't know what's going to happen. Like, even if they're a good person, they can screw up. So to me, I want it just completely not affiliated with any of my personal money. So it's on League Safe. I set a date. It's early. Like my dynasty leagues, the deadline was last week to pay. And if you don't pay, you get replaced. But that's because I also pay out quickly. So that's the commissioner's responsibility. I mean, the league ended on like Christmas this year or whatever for most leagues. I paid out by New Year's Day, I think. So efficiently, that is how you handle the money. And then everybody's fine.
If you hear us CBS guys talking about our staff leagues and how we handle money, what I would say is do not ever do it like we do, because
you guys pay after the draft, mid-season, you're trying to collect money.
Oh, there's most of our leagues, the payments are coming in after Christmas.
See, that's
season's over and it's like, okay, you don't owe because you won your money back, and you don't owe because you won your money back, and I need money from you, and I need money from you. And well, actually,
that is how I operated like 20 years ago.
Actually, I owe you money for this other league, so let's just call it even on this one. And so it's absolutely absurd. Adam with a fantastic comment from the chat. He correctly diagnosed why you hate IDP. Only paying attention to the Bengals offense is good methodology.
You know what? I was raised a Bengals fan. That might have something to do with it. I do remember David Fulcher. I remember him. He was a defender.
I'm gonna say that most of the past decades worth of Bengals executives and coaches also do not play in IDP leagues. They only play in offense leagues.
Which is why we love the Bengals for fantasy. It's great. I mean, if the over-under can be 70 in every game, it's ideal.
Do you have a preferred payout structure?
So I mean, it's not really preferred. I like to pay out in a way that keeps as many people interested as possible. So first place usually gets about 50% in my leagues. Then second place gets paid out. Depending on the size of the league, third place might get like their entry fee back, or next year's entry fee, whatever, that's kind of how I set up like first, second, and third. I don't really care about third place. I've gotten third place prizes and I'm like, yay.
Can you just put that towards next year, please?
I don't want to think about it.
No,
lost in the semifinals. But it's kind of nice to get, okay, next year's a free roll if you're something it feels like. I also like to pay out for like season long points.
Mm-hmm.
That gives a motivator. Oftentimes it's somebody that's in the playoffs. They're probably the 1 seed. They might be the 2 seed, something like that. But they might get upset in the playoffs.
Right.
That variance that we all want to get rid of might come and bite them in the playoffs. But at least then they walk away with something. That's usually like 2x the entry fee. Is what I kind of place that at. Sometimes just the entry fee again, just so they at least get something out of the season. More and more, I've begun to like having weekly prizes. Leagues that I've started recently have started to have a small weekly prize to the point where, like, if you win 4 or 5 weeks, then it pays for your entry fee. And by win, I mean you're just the highest scorer of the week. That's the easiest thing to do.
High points for the week, getting points, I think is very good. You prefer, I think I know this, for standings to do victory points, right?
I have pretty much moved completely to victory points. I love it. It allows you to really gauge which teams are the best. You can have a team that, again, schedule variance can be huge in fantasy football. So I really do like victory points. For those that don't know what it is, you basically, obviously you have your head-to-head matchup. You can set that up to, be worth 2 or 3 points if it's a win. And then you can set up tiers based on scoring. So if you're in the top third, you can get, another 2 or 3 points, however you want. If you're in the middle section, you get 1 or 2 points, something like that. And if you're in the bottom third, you get nothing. So, it's fun.
And a simpler way to do that, because I think that's more of a my fantasy league thing, is just league median scoring. Where you get a win, If you finish in the top half of the league in points that week, you get another win.
Yeah, like that's extremely popular and very easy to do too.
If you don't want to do that, then I think we probably agree. If you're just going a straight heads up league, that at least one of the playoff spots, and I prefer the 2 seed, at least one of the playoff spots should go to total points.
Yes.
I like to reward the team that finishes first in the regular season. There's a variety of ways you can do that. You can just have a payout for first place in the regular season, or you can just say that, like, especially in my leagues where I've got some 14, 16 team leagues where 17, I like to put 7 teams make the playoffs. The 1 seed is the only team that gets a bye, and there's a payout for making the semifinals. So the 1 seed automatically makes the semifinals. They automatically get the payout. I think we had one more question here before 2. How do you handle proposed rule changes? Is it as simple as someone brings something to you and you decide if you like it or not? League votes? How do you like to do it?
Yeah, so in my Discord chats for each league that I have, like, we discuss rule changes constantly. Like I've said, if there's something that's an overlooked error, it's not really a rule change. It's like, I messed up, I need to fix it. There's things I'll fix right away. Just instantly, like, hey, I messed up. That we're fixing it. There's a lot of other things that can't be done that way. Usually after we're about to enter dispersal week for my leagues. So then once that's done and kind of the league is fully ready to go for this upcoming year, the next step in the league will be me asking, does anybody have any suggestions? Do we need any rule changes for anything? We'll have a discussion in it. I'll kind of follow the discussion in the chat. I'll see if it's something that I feel needs to be voted on. You can usually gauge that if there's enough back and forth where it needs to be a league decision to make it, because in a dynasty league, it's going to mess some people up. Oftentimes, if you change a rule, they've been operating in one system, it's going to change something to something different. Usually when I institute a new rule, it's not immediately effective if it is something that involves that kind of a discussion. It's going to be, okay, in 2 years, this new thing is going to start. That way people can kind of adjust, they can prepare. So to
We
me,
had a
that's
question in
the
the
best
chat
way.
that I think kind of speaks to this and my next question. So Nate had asked, running a dynasty league for 3 years, you start 8, 1 quarterback, no tight end premium. We're a mature league now. If we wanted to move to start 10 or add super flex or tight end premium, how do you suggest to? And I think what you said was, I don't make changes immediate.
Yeah.
These are all things that are very difficult to change in Dynasty.
Yeah.
Because if you're moving from non-tight end premium to tight end premium, how do you adjust for the fact that this guy has Trey McBride and this guy's top tight end is Jake Ferguson, and now you're making a rule change that just made a huge difference in those values? This guy has 3 QBs and now we're changing to Superflex. Would those be things you would even be willing to change in a Dynasty league, or are those the types of things that you can't change it because it alters the league too much?
So 1 QB to Superflex is a league defining change.
Right.
I get it, because Superflex is more fun. So you definitely should do it. A lot of people say just start a second league and play that one as Superflex. And I get that, but not everybody wants to play a second league. So I think there are good ways to transition. It's not something that should be immediate. I actually, one of the leagues, Matt Price, another friend of the show and friend of Fantasy Cares, has instituted one point. We went from a 1 QB to a Superflex. We all got to keep 1 quarterback on our roster. Every other quarterback got thrown back into the pool. You were given auction money based on their dynasty rankings. Okay. So, he had a system. Everybody knew what the rankings were coming from. Everybody knew the value of every quarterback that we had on our rosters. And so when you threw quarterbacks back in, you could throw them all back in if you wanted and get all your, get money for all of them. And then we had an auction for quarterbacks. So it ended up being a really fun way to transition. Now, I will say the entire league was on board with this. That's the only way that kind of thing works. If there's one person that's saying, no, I don't want to make that change, they're probably not going to be in the league if that change is made. They're probably going to quit over it. So you have to have everybody on board. Short of doing that, we wanted to do it right away. So that's how we did it. But I think you can say in 2 years, this is going to be a super flex league. That gives plenty of people, or gives people plenty of time to start building that roster for what that big change is going to come, because it is going to be a big change.
I think that was an excellent explanation. Let's take our second break. We'll do a little bit of startup talk, and then we got a couple of questions left from the chat.
Critics are buzzing about the new season of Yellow Jackets.
This is not healthy.
Yellow Jackets' new season, now streaming on the Paramount Plus with Showtime plan.
We are back. Let's talk startups a little bit. Now's your time to shine. I thought it was the Constitution, but it's not actually. Tell everyone why auctions are the way to go.
Well, don't you like things that are fair, Heath?
Yeah, kind
of. So, I mean, in a draft, it's literally called trading up to get the 101. Like, you have to trade up to do it. You have to give up something to get up there. Somebody has an advantage over you. If it's not based on random, like if you earned it by playing, like a beer Olympics or something like that, and you determine the order, sure, that's really fun. Then it's earned, and you had a great time determining the draft order. If you just randomize the draft order, I do not like somebody just getting an advantage over me based on nothing. Just random dumb luck. Again, that variance, I'm not a fan of it. It gets me every time. That's the only reason I ever lose, by the way, is because of variance.
Right, of course.
Obviously. But in an auction, if you want a player, you can get them. You can get them. You can outspend. You can do whatever you want. In a draft, you can even offer, over market value for the 101 or something like that. But if somebody is dead set on they're just using their 101 in this player, you're not getting them. No matter what you do, you're not going to be able to make that trade if they aren't willing to make that trade. In an auction, they might be willing to go to a very high amount. It doesn't mean that you can't go higher. You have the option to outbid anybody for any player. So to me, it's just that is easily the most fair way to start. If you're going to do a draft, you might as well just randomize all the players too.
I think the one
extreme.
thing, and I agree with you that it's better. I know a lot of people are intimidated that never done auctions before of doing it for the first time. And a lot of people say, we don't have that much time where we can keep everybody locked in. Like I can get everybody to pay attention for a 3-hour draft. I can't, or a 1-hour draft in some cases, but I can't get everybody to pay attention. I know a lot of your auctions are slow auctions over multiple days with like a 12-hour clock. And I understand. But I do think the auction is the better way to go. And it solves the problem of the rookies, because when you do a startup draft, and a lot of people start dynasty leagues this time of year before the rookie draft, and then you've got to figure out, what am I doing with those rookie picks? It's really simple. If you do an auction, you just do a veteran auction and then you do a rookie auction. But if you can just come into the draft world with me for a moment, if there are people that are starting a new league and they're going to go do a draft, and they're doing the draft in February with veterans, how would you suggest handling those rookie picks?
Let me address the time issue real fast. You can get an auction done really quick too. You just have to make sure your people are active. And I would also suggest, if you're afraid that it's going to take too long, just do auction for the top 100 players.
Right.
Auction the top 100 players, and then move on to the draft. Like, you're going to have people excited, and you can do a hybrid. You can figure out a way. Nobody cares who gets a $1 player. It's the same as getting a round 16 player. Like, nobody cares at that point. Okay. So how do you draft, or how do you incorporate the rookie picks? Isn't that why kickers are still available on dynasty leagues, so that they can be like the sub pick? Like, you're the first person to draft the kicker. That means you get the rookie 101. Isn't that literally? No, I'm kidding. There's probably some people out there.
I have literally done it that way in a rookie draft though. So do you think that's the best way to do it? Is just let people draft the picks?
The best way is to create custom pick players that says, rookie 101, but that takes time. So everybody just uses kickers as the fill-in. You put the draft picks into you put the rookie draft picks into the draft. So, if back when Bijan was the obvious 101 of the rookie drafts, he wasn't always the 101 in a dynasty startup. Somebody can draft the rookie 101 at the 3rd or 4th pick. Like that. That's how I incorporated it in a lot of draft startups, and it's pretty commonly done that way. Gives you the fun of then having a rookie draft later. Some people just go through it without knowing what team that player is going to end up on. That is wild. And again, that's a variance that I don't take part in.
Yeah, I prefer,
exciting.
Which brings us to another question, because there's a big wide range of opinion on people in terms of rookie drafts and or auctions and when you do them each year. My favorite is the week after the NFL draft. Some people like to do it before the NFL draft, which I agree with you is insane. Other people are cowards and they want to wait until August, so they have all of the information. I'm just joking. I think the best way is right after the rookie draft. Do it however the majority of your league agrees.
I still have some that go all of those. So that's the best. Just have several leagues and be in all of them. So then you're always drafting.
I don't have any right now that go before the rookie draft, but I have a wide range.
I take that back. I did have one.
Spread from May through August for sure. Are you, in terms of drafting, one thing people do to try to make it more even is 3rd round reversal. Do you like that or not?
Heath, do you remember the first time you joined a Fantasy Cares Eliminator League?
Yeah.
That is how long, that was like 10 years ago, by the way. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
That is how long I have been so pro 3rd round reversal, because they started out with 3rd round reversal. That was 10 years ago. I love it. If you're going to do a draft, 3rd round reversal does, for those that don't know, you basically go, first pick to the end of the pick in round 1 or end of the round, then you snake. But then instead of snaking, the 3rd round is the same as the 2nd round. So that person that picked last in the 1st round then gets the first pick in the next 2 rounds. It definitely takes a little bit of the sting out of 11 players that were drafted before you even really had a chance to pick. It's still not perfect, but it's better.
I think it works honestly, and you can push back on this. I think it works better for redraft and it
Oh, yeah.
works better for one QB, in my opinion, than it does for super flex dynasty leagues. And the reason I say this, and we're not far enough into the offseason to know this for sure this year, but when I looked last year at my values on my player values in the top 150 and went through each of the picks for the first 5 rounds, well, the best pick was like pick 3 because we had Allen, Lamar, and Mahomes were all pretty close to each other. And so you got a little better pick in round 2 and a little better pick in round 4. But then like the 2 next picks were pick 9 and 10, because in Superflex Dynasty, it is a little bit flatter at the top. In redraft 1 QB, it's an enormous advantage most years to have the first or the second pick. So I do think like if you go Superflex and you're in a dynasty league and you have tight end premium, that advantage of the 101 is not quite as big as it is in a 1 QB redraft league. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, like you said, you can literally look at like the values. And I mean, the difference between the 101 and the 112, the gap between that is a lot bigger than the combined difference of the 201 to 212 and the 301 to 312. Like, but at least that shrinks that gap some.
Right.
It's still, again, this is why auctions are just better.
Well, and somebody had a question. We'll just jump right into the listener questions now, because Nate brings up a good point, and we didn't do a good job of explaining this. So is everyone given the same amount of money for the auction rookie draft? Tell people how you do it.
Yeah. So in my leagues, basically there's a scale. We still have rookie draft picks in all of my leagues. Those picks convert to a certain amount of money. So the 101 is going to be worth the most amount of money. The 312 is going to be worth the least. And so it's just a scale going down like that. So each pick decreases in value to kind of reflect, the same thing as the worst teams get the most. Granted, some of those people get traded away, or you can trade and get a bunch of picks, and then you go in with a ton of auction money, which is really fun to be able to dominate a rookie auction draft. So, but
most importantly, don't give everybody the same amount of money in a rookie draft for sure. Adam asks in the chat, do you prefer a dynasty league split into divisions or not?
I like a mix. Again, I have multiple leagues. I like the mix. Most of mine are kind of a 14-team league or 14-team base league. So if it's just 14, it's usually one division. If it's 28 or 42 teams in the league, then it's usually 2 or 3 divisions. So I like a 14-team single division base is kind of where I operate with.
And for the standard 8, 10, or 12 team leagues, I definitely prefer to just have one division. I'm in one redraft league where there's 3 divisions, and they use NFL tiebreaker procedures. So it's like not even necessarily determined by how many points you scored, but it's like head to head and division record and all those things.
Remember that home league I told you I left after like 25 years in it?
Yeah.
That is still how it operates.
Yeah. Yeah. So listen, we're trying to help people.
The wild card did finally start going to the highest scorer not in.
We are.
But it took two decades.
We're trying to help you guys maybe start that first dynasty league or do it right. I'm a big proponent of it. If I've got 25 leagues, which I usually do, or 30 leagues, I'd like for most of them to be a little different than the others. So that one league being that way, if it was my only league, it would drive me absolutely insane. If it's 1 out of 25, that's something that's kind of neat and different. We had somebody bail in our dynasty league. The team isn't good. They have no first round picks. What do you do to entice someone to take this team?
So in my leagues, if you trade your future first round pick, what do you got to do, Heath?
Pay that year's fee.
You pay that fee. Again, League Safe. I'm not an employee of League Safe, and there are other ones out there. So find the one that you like. I just use that one because it's the easiest. You can set it up so that if somebody, like my leagues already have the 2026, the 2027, and the 2028 bank set up for it. So if somebody trades their 2027 first round pick, they have to pay that league fee. They pay it in advance. As soon as you trade that first round pick, you have bought into that year. Some people still leave, but at least then it's real easy to find somebody to take a team for free. So that's not hard. You've already got the entry fee covered if they've destroyed the team.
And I'm glad that question came up, because we should have said that earlier when we were talking about the money. That is something that's very, very good to do. And if our CBS leagues collected money before the season was over, it was definitely something we would do. But
I will say, if you're in the scenario where you haven't had the foresight to do that, and so now you're suffering the consequences of it, that's okay. It happens. The best thing to do is literally talk to the other managers in the league and just say, the prize pool is going down. Either we all work together and we find somebody that's going to take this team, but they might take it for free. Like, if that's what you have to do, then just, you got to tell the league it's coming out of the prize pool. Like, it's not coming out of my pocket. It's not coming out of anybody else's pocket. Some leagues will say, all right, everybody chip in an extra $5. We'll cover the league fee, whatever. To me, I'm just like, if you've already got everybody else's money, you've got the prize pool set and expected, but you're going to get one less entry fee, just decrease the prize pool by that amount and move on to the next year.
One way or another, the league needs to come together and eat that money, whether it's through paying their fee for them and I think sometimes you can, like, I know when we had Theo Grimminger on last week, he talked about how FFPC leagues, you'll notice, like, they're all a certain price this time of year. And then when they get closer to rookie drafts, those leagues that haven't filled, they go on discount. You might get somebody to pay half the entry fee for that first year. But it's a real problem if they've traded their 26 and their 27 and their 28, and now you don't have any money for those leagues. Please listen to John. Be better.
Those are that's a service league, though, where there's different income streams as well,
right?
To offset those costs.
Yes. Here's just a random scoring question. It's probably personal preference, but I have a strong opinion, so we'll answer it anyways. Adam asks, how do you feel about yardage bonuses? I hate them so much.
I'm not.
I hate them.
But they're fun. They are fun.
Much.
I get why people like them. I don't like them. I don't have them in any of mine, because I think it's arbitrary.
There's nothing more infuriating than, and my home league has these, the non PPR league that I was talking about. That's also IDP. The greatest. We should have some sort of Fantasy Cares fundraiser where if we raise enough money, you have to play a season in this league, because it's like all the things you hate. No PPR. I mean, it
really is not something you must really these
low yardage points, high touchdown points, and bonuses for 100 yards rushing, 100 yards receiving, and 300 yards passing. I hate them because inevitably you're going to have a week where Nico Collins has 6 catches for 95 yards and a touchdown, and Wan'Dale Robinson has 101 yards and no touchdowns and scores more points than Nico Collins. Surely this is just a random example and not something that happened to me in the playoffs this year. It's I hate it. I think, though, Adam, in all honesty, it's one of those things that's probably better for leagues where you have some people that aren't really that into it and are just there for fun and community, because it does add to the variance. And as John said, it is fun when that guy hits the 100 yards and you get that 5-point bonus added to your score, just as much as it's infuriating when you're the guy with Nico Collins with 96 yards receiving and you don't get it. And
I will say the thing I have more fun with bonuses, because I despise the total game bonus. I actually don't as much despise like a big play bonus. Yeah. So like if somebody gets a 50-yard reception, make that worth more than the 1 point for the catch, the 1 point for the first down, and the 50 yards worth of yardage. That would be a 7-point play. If they get a 50-yard catch, like throw in an extra 2 points or something. Like to me that one play it's exciting to see. You're sitting there watching Red Zone. Boom, your player gets that boost. It's the whole stadium lights up. A single big play bonus, like to me, is a little more reflective of that excitement level of something. So
yeah, especially when you're facing Shedeur Sanders and he throws a screen pass and Judkins takes it for 55 yards for a touchdown and Sanders gets a bonus for throwing a 50-yard touchdown. That's lots of fun,
Yeah.
John. One more good
Yeah.
question.
There's
How did we
downsides to everything, Heath.
how, how did we not answer this issue yet? Thank you, Nate. How do you handle tanking? Nate does not like tanking. He also doesn't like max points for.
I think he's talking about potential points there, right? Like,
Right.
yeah, max points for. So I don't care about tanking at all. I do use potential points when determining the draft order of non-playoff teams. But if you want to build your roster over 2 or 3 years and you want to hide some guys on taxi and lower your max points for or your potential points to get a better draft spot, sure, why not? Like, I mean, to me, I don't understand why NFL teams don't tank more. Like, you see it kind of towards the end of the season sometimes, but I mean, like,
Right.
literally, there are teams that a couple weeks in, you can kind of tell your season's not going to go well. They should be tanking in the NFL. So I'm not against tanking. One, I don't want to monitor for it as the commissioner. I'm not going to be one that tells somebody you made the wrong judgment call on a starting lineup and it's clear you were tanking. Like, don't bring that to me. Like, some people mess up. So, you know, I know a lot of people think it harms leagues. If somebody's tanking, though, they're typically going to be tanking against a lot of opponents. And this is another thing where victory points, it doesn't really matter if you have one team in the league that decides to tank halfway through. Most teams have probably already beaten them. Most teams are probably going to beat them the rest of the week. And everybody has already been competing against their score each week anyways, if you're playing against the league median or you're playing in victory points, things like that. So if you have other settings that kind of eliminate that, what everybody really fears is I'm going to play against somebody in week right before the playoffs. They're going to tank against me, or they're going to tank against my opponent, and it's going to let my opponent in. Well, one, you should have won more games during the rest of the season if that's what it comes down to. So it's not that your opponent tanked somebody else in, it's that you didn't score enough points and win enough games. But
I think a lot of times too, the guys who are really committed to tanking end up being some of the most active managers. Like, they are trying that they have a plan and they're trying to make their team better for the future. I think the most infuriating thing is when somebody tanks all year and then you get to week 14 or whatever, and they've locked up the 1 seed by 2 games and they're playing their either nemesis or buddy. And they're like, you know what? Let's go see if we can win one.
Hey,
they all of a sudden set their lineup.
Beat the teams. You've got to win those games.
It's an art. Tanking is an art, and I don't think you should do it. I used to say you have to start an active player, and that's the worst thing you can possibly do, because then you end up policing people's lineups, and I don't want to do that at all. I've taken up enough of your time, John. Always enjoy talking to you. It's been too long since we've talked, and we'll have to get together and do this again sooner. Everybody, please go check out fantasycares.org. Be a part of, try to get in the Scott Fish Bowl. Maybe we'll find some way to help that happen on this show as we get closer to that date. But even if you don't,
you know a guy that could give you some spots to give away.
I might know a guy. Even if you don't get in the Scott Fish Bowl, find a way to get involved. Lots of fun contests that you guys run throughout the year. Thank you, John. Thank you, Emma, for making everything work. Thank you to everybody who was active in the chat with your questions and your comments, especially the comment about John and the Bengals and no defense. I really enjoyed that one. We will talk to you next Tuesday.